Well, TJ, we definitely clarified that. I did off the top of this show. Yes, all time, Michigan has the series lead. For those of us living and breathing and who watch uh, colorized videos on YouTube and on television, then it's a bit of a different count. But that's all right. Those of us who enjoy football with forward passing as well, it's a different count post 1914.
It should be when it started, but I understand your argument. It's okay. We got the next like 20 years, and Bryce Underwood kicking things off. We'll catch up on 14 and forward.
Yeah, we don't necessarily need to start with this game. And after I ask this question, I'll cut Tony loose. But yeah, you know that it's just a different age in college football when the 17-year-old future could be quarterback. I know that he will be the quarterback, but how good he's going to be, we have to wait and see. That he gets mentioned many more times than the actual Michigan quarterback.
Yep.
That we could do a test here in the chat and see if anybody can even name him. And well, they'll probably get the last name first and the first name last. Warren Davis. That his name has even been mentioned this week in Michigan circles.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic. I mean, no question, we are in a position this season where we are looking for the future, not the present. And you guys are definitely in a position where you are enjoying the present. You guys have a lot ahead of you in terms of Big Ten championship, unless we can ruin that. And obviously a playoff run. I mean, I don't think anyone looks at the college football, any teams this season and says there's a true dominant power, right? Everyone looks beatable to some extent. And you guys are honestly 1 second away from being undefeated this year. So, it's an interesting era. Right now, you guys are in a great spot. We are in a bit of a reflection in the mirror moment for our program. So hopefully we get it together. And next year, the results are not duplicated from this year.
I think there's too much reflection in the mirror over the off season, and everybody just enjoying all of the glitter and the glamour. But we saw the same thing a decade ago with Ohio State, the 2014 team, and then the 2015 team. They start the season with 5 guys suspended from various things and just being enjoying their national championship win. And
did that team lose 6 games?
No,
it's number 3 in the country.
I'm just saying you can enjoy a national championship for far too long, or you can enjoy it and then head off to the NFL like basically everybody, so many of the coaches and players did. But hey, if Bryce Underwood can be half as productive as past 5-star quarterbacks at Michigan, like Jaden Davis and Shane Morris, like what's stopping him? If he can do what JJ McCarthy did, I think everybody would take that and run. But I think he has to do more than what JJ McCarthy did.
Yes,
based on the price tag and the potential, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's be honest. When the entire college football world is going to be looking at this kid, and the pressure from the fan base is going to be immense. I mean, that's one thing about this, right? So he is going to have a lot of pressure on him, and if he does not succeed or does not look elite, and I don't mean just like top 10 good, I mean Heisman caliber good, then he's going to have a lot of pressure on him, and it could be tough for him. So that's something we're going to have to watch. But I think you're 100% right, Tony. We had a lot of confidence coming out of that offseason, and I think we were overconfident. We misjudged our own team, our roster.
The coaches did too.
No question. What we did in the April portal is disgusting, and our fan base knows this. We talk about this. Like, we did not set our team up for success. We relied too much on the development situation, and we were quite honestly caught with our pants down, and we are experiencing this season. We're experiencing because of that.
Yeah. Bryce, I saw Bryce Underwood last spring in here in Ohio. He was at a combine, and like he looks like a creative player. Like that's the guy that's what you want your quarterbacks to look like. That's what he throws the ball. It looks different than everybody else. But man, the price tag thing, and I'll say the same thing with Ross Bjork telling one of the national writers about the $20 million roster for Ohio State. Once that number gets out there, it never goes away. And you're saddled with it, and it creates expectations. It's as if Ohio State is the only team that is putting money towards players, and Bryce Underwood is the only quarterback recruit that has come with a price tag. And now that is Bryce Underwood, $12 million. Ohio State roster, $20 million. That is your new name. And
Right.
you have to have a support system around him, a supporting cast around him. And I know they're trying to do that right now in recruiting, but he can't do it on his own. And what you see here now at Michigan with the guys returning next year, and I think they need more in terms of playmakers outside,
100%.
even the running backs. They need to get him some help. You can't rely on you can't put all of that on a freshman quarterback and then not give him really, really good players to lean on. Like, you can't lean on a freshman quarterback.
Well, 100% agree with you. And what's interesting is, so I fully expect the portal to be an aggressive period for Michigan. And there's rumors are even On3 just reported they're expecting Michigan one of the more aggressive teams along with Oregon, Ole Miss, and I think they said Florida, which is interesting. But here's what's real interesting, Tony. Apparently, there's buzz that we're going to be getting a portal quarterback, and the name that keeps surfacing right now is Miller Moss. And what I am anticipating is a potential. If you remember the 21 season for Michigan, you had Cade McNamara, and they sprinkled in JJ McCarthy here and there, allowed him to develop. He will burn his red shirt. I'm expecting a similar situation. I don't think they're now. What's interesting though is during the recruitment of Bryce Underwood, we were hearing on our show that they were looking to play Bryce Underwood early. Well, I mean, I guess that still fits the mold. If you are going to rotate him in like you did JJ his first season, you are essentially playing him early. Now, it'll be interesting. Is Miller Moss the quarterback that they do get? And then you're 100% correct. Edwards is going to be gone. Mullins is going to be gone. We need, even though we have Jordan Marshall, which I know you guys are familiar with, former Gatorade Player of the Year in Ohio, we need more than that. And like what we found ourselves in this year, Tony was, and Mark, is we were on hope. We hoped players would develop, but when you're playing at this level of football, you need to know players are going to be ready to play, not hope players are ready to play. And that's where we took, especially with Evan Link at right tackle. That's where we took a lot of our mistakes this year. So I expect a very strong roster next year, but they still have to do it. Results are everything. Words are just words.
Yeah, and everybody's going to be in the portal looking for a Miller Moss, or all of, like, people like Ohio State fans are like, why doesn't Ohio State just go get a left tackle out of the portal? Because everybody's trying to get that left tackle out of the portal. So you can't just, it's not a shopping spree. There's you got 15, 20 different teams trying to buy that same 96 pack of toilet paper.
Yeah, agree. And what's interesting too is with revenue sharing coming, some people think this is going to be an answer, but in reality, it's just going to raise the price point. There's going to be more money in the market now, and these players are going to cost even more money. It's going to get more drastic. And so the early rumors are that this portal season is going to be the craziest of them all.
So is that, sorry,
no.
I want to talk about Underwood after this. So keep going. Sorry about that.
Well, I was going to say, because so I'm sure maybe you're familiar with this, Tony and Mark, but agents are reaching out to these programs in September to gauge interest on if they would have interest in their players come December. So it's very interesting the way college football has evolved. It should be a pretty wild December.
Yeah, I mean, I've asked Ryan Day, like, why don't all of these coaches complain about their other coaches, tampering and stuff? Why don't you ever name names? And it's like, well, you don't want to get. It's like nobody names names because they're also doing it, basically. Like,
yes. Right.
if you start, it's best to just let all of these sleeping dogs tamper, I guess. But with Underwood, is this a 3-year deal? Is it a 4-year deal? Has that been reported?
So it is. So it is 12 million over 4 years. And the reason why, but then people be like, well, what if he leaves the 3rd year? Well, then the 4th year is just void.
Yeah.
So it's 12 over 4, which is, and then, but on top of that, you have the Barstool situation where he'll get extra, like, for example, if you guys saw the video yesterday, he's going to do a Black Friday sale with Barstool on Friday, and all 100% of the proceeds go to Underwood. And then you have the thing with passes with Lucy Gao, and these are extra revenue things. You're going to have autograph sessions and other hometown commercials. Like, the kid's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah. I just hope there's not a game where he throws 3 interceptions and Portnoy just goes off on him. Like, because Portnoy is not a guy that can just back off on thoughts. So I know that's his player or whatever, that's his guy, but he's thrown his own people under the bus before.
Well, you know what though, Tony? If that happens where he has a 3 interception game and it costs Michigan, or I mean, everybody's going to come after him, even our own fans. That's just what comes with the territory when you're the highest paid NIL deal ever.
Or just the starting quarterback.
Yeah, but I would argue there's a little more pressure. I mean, like for
yeah.
example, they're terming this kid the next Vince Young. Things like Jaden Daniels light. So we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him. I mean, we'll see if he steps up. That's another thing too. Like if he can step up to the pressure, I mean, it just shows the greatness in the player, which will be interesting also to watch.
When you get a 5-star quarterback or a big major guy, the unfortunate thing is you're probably only getting him, if he's as good as he should be, you're probably only getting him for 2 starts against your rivals, basically,
Right.
And if he is starting as a true freshman at some point next year, that's not ideal. But by a sophomore, junior year, and you mentioned redshirting, like if anybody even mentioned that to him, because that guy's not going to be there for 5 years, and if he is, boy, was that a lot of wasted money. So,
Right.
it's just interesting where this is a guy like CJ Stroud started 2 games against Michigan, and was maybe the greatest quarterback, the best quarterback in Ohio State history. You get 2 starts against your rival, and they come and they go, and it's rare that you've got a JT Barrett 4 starts. Like you almost don't want that anymore because it's like, why are you still here? Why aren't you good enough to go somewhere else by this point? Why isn't somebody throwing $15 million at you out of the portal now? Good luck to him. But man, yeah, he's got to be able to handle that pressure. They need to get that sports psychologist in there and make sure that they are working with everybody on that one. And the teammates and the locker room, basically, because that's the other thing. Everybody knows what he's making. And so like I'm playing better than him, and I'm not. I played 47 snaps and he's just watching with the clipboard. There's some of that. So you need a really good locker room to handle that as well.
Well, that's going to be a new dynamic for Michigan because we're going to enter a new era where Michigan hasn't really entered. And what you need is a leader of men. And hopefully Sharon's that guy. Because if you don't have a leader of men, your locker room will get toxic. You see it with A&M. You see it with other schools, Miami. Well, they're playing well this year. But that's one of the things I think people underestimate with bag schools. Like, for example, Alabama. Well, Nick Saban, yeah, sure. They were always the school with the car dealerships and the houses and all that for their players. But he was able to keep the locker room under control. Some schools do not have that capacity. We'll find out if Michigan can be one.
And for Ohio State fans who are kind of chuckling at the thought of Bryce Underwood, even if he does turn out to be a really good player, bombing at times with those kind of performances and everybody piling up on him, those situations are coming most likely to every school. And if they're not coming to your school, then you're not competitive anyway. So, every coach is going to have to deal with these type of dynamics, and they already are to a certain extent, but it's going to explode. It appears, if this is the new trend, and certainly Michigan is setting the bar, at least currently, in terms of it appears one of the teams or schools setting the bar, the new bar of finances coming in.
I also think Michigan should spend about $4 million on a new OC, but that's just me.
We're in agreement. Yeah, they better get that figured out real quick because that's a problem.
So that kind of segues us into the actual game that's being played. And because I certainly have no thoughts about Bryce Underwood. I understand he's a great player. I've never seen him throw one pass. The first pass I will see him throw will probably be in a spring game. And we will do that, of course, as we always do. But I watch college football. I don't watch high school football. So what is the path to that? I actually, I don't know if I convinced Tony that Michigan's got a path to victory. I think I just exposed my own scars from the past in forging a path for Michigan to win. But I noted they got one of the best kickers in the nation, just crossed the 50-yard line, and you got some points. Probably Khalil Mullings runs as hard as anybody. I don't think he's an elite back, but he runs as hard as anyone. And Donovan Edwards has basically made a career out of playing Ohio State. And you got a defensive front that if Ohio State's not it's not the strongest Ohio State offensive line. I think they've done very well in adjusting to their injury issues, but Michigan can muck up a game. And then Tony can tell us better than anyone that if Michigan goes up 7-0, what the tension will feel like in that building.
Yeah, well, I mean, so on my end, I think the only path to victory is we have got to dominate the trenches on the defensive side of the ball for us. With your offensive line losing Seth McLaughlin, losing Josh Simmons for the year, two of your better offensive linemen going against our defensive line, this is our chance. We have got to get pressure on Howard. We got to get him uncomfortable. We got to get him off his timing. If we can do that, hopefully it doesn't allow for sustained drives. And if you guys do have drives, we have to hold you to 3 points. We are not winning a shootout. We all know this. Our offense is ranked 128th in the nation. Your offense is uniquely ranked 28th in the nation. Okay, so that's interesting. Typically, it's a little bit higher, but still. And I was actually critical of Will Howard coming into the year. He's exceeded my expectations. Throwing at a 74% clip in terms of completion percentage, an excellent touchdown to interception ratio. He's too comfortable. And if anyone watches the Ohio State, which of course you have, we're on the Ohio State channel, but like the offense is built really well for him, and you guys have all the weapons. So for Michigan to have any chance, we have got to make him uncomfortable. And then we, in my opinion, we have to win the turnover battle. So win the turnover battle, get pressured on Howard, and hold you guys to 3 points. If you do drive on us, that's the only chance for victory. If we cannot succeed at those things, I think it's going to be a very long day for Michigan.
Mark, you said you're trying to convince me of a path to victory. I was in school at Ohio State in the 90s. You don't have to convince me of anything. I've seen some things, man. But we just shortly a little bit ago this morning recorded a show like how does Michigan win, and it starts with turnovers is key. And Ryan Day always talks about winning the rushing battle, winning the turnover battle, and winning the explosive plays. And they lost all three of those to Oregon and lost by 1.1 second, that sort of thing on the road. So I don't think they need to win all of those. And as I said at the start of the show, the team that has run the ball for more yards has won every game this century. But I still think if Michigan doesn't get to Will Howard, I don't really care what Ohio State runs the ball for, because they will be able to throw the ball on Michigan's secondary. Now, Michigan's had 10 sacks the last 2 weeks. They didn't sack Dylan Gabriel once. So if they don't get to Will Howard, and I do think they will, I don't see a way Ohio State gets out of this without giving up, say, 2 sacks. But if they're not even just pressuring him, terrorizing him, you can give up a sack here or there. But if they're not getting after him consistently and he's got time to throw, he's going to find guys. You got Michigan now, Makari Page at nickel. They're going to match up whoever they want with him, because all three of Carnell Tate, Emeka Ibuka, and Jeremiah Smith can run out of the slot. They're all able to do that. So they'll have the opportunity to find some matchups that they want to take advantage of. It's up to Josiah Stewart and TJ Guy and Derek Moore to keep that from happening. And the way TJ Guy has been playing, like, he's going to be a problem for Ohio State. But I keep going back to the Josiah Stewart versus Donovan Jackson thing. And Abdul Carter got him twice against Penn State, got around Donovan Jackson's really fast, and that's what Josiah Stewart is. How much do they have to help out there? I don't think it's really an issue with going with some max protect, because I still think one of these guys will get open. It's a Michigan secondary that is kind of piecemeal a little bit. You got a bunch of corners and a bunch of safeties, and not really any one guy that you can rely on anymore, in my opinion. So I think there's areas there to attack, but I think Ohio State also needs to be aggressive early, which they haven't necessarily been, like last week, starting slowly, and they've had some slow starts. I think this is a game where you can start to just go forward with the passing game rather than east-west. Go more north-south, and don't worry about the east-west stuff, trying to tire out the tackles, which they want to do, so that softens up the middle late in the game. Go ahead and throw downfield early on and see if that opens some stuff up the middle as well. But were we talking about Michigan's path to victory? I'm sorry.
No.
Yes, turnovers and short fields. The Northwestern game, they had so many short fields. Win the special teams battle. drive 50 yards for a score instead of 75 yards. If Michigan needs field position and they need turnovers and they need Kalel Mullings and Donovan Edwards, one of those two guys to hit their customary 40 or 50 yard rush to just get a huge chunk of yards so that they don't have to rely on Davis Warren to stretch the field, which he's not been able to do. I do think this will be the first game this season where Michigan has a 40-yard completion just because that's what happens.
Yeah, well, last week we had our first game over 30 points, so we're doing a lot of firsts this year. Hopefully we get another 40 yards, or we get some 40-yard completions. But Will Johnson is potentially going to try to play this Saturday, which we need. That's a must for us. Colson Loveland's trending to play this week. So those are two players that I think are absolutely critical first-round talents for us to even have the opportunity to pull off the upset this year.
So Pete Thamel was wrong? God.
Which part? On the Will Johnson or the
Yeah,
Colson?
No, the Pete I think he said, or it was attributed to him that Will Johnson was probably done for the year. But I figured like this is always the game. If he wasn't opting out, then this would be the game he'd point to. But I don't know. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. Might be too cold for somebody to shake something off.
Yeah, there's a lot of the fan base is a little frustrated with this one, because apparently it's a turf toe. So I guess there's nuance to the length of injury, but we'll see. The word is he's going to try. Now, is that coach speak? We'll see. To be determined.
I think it was a toe injury. That was the only game Walter Payton ever missed was for a toe injury, by the way.
And Sharon Moore did say at one point this season when asked that Will Johnson will be back this season. He was very definitive about that at one point.
We all believed him, and here we
are. There's always the bowl game.
Yeah, right. The potential pinstripe bowl. Unless we beat you guys, then we can get into a better bowl game. But we'll see.
Yeah,
to be determined. So, but I think. Listen, you guys are coming for blood. You guys are coming for blood this game, and I've seen the player interviews from you guys. I've seen Stewart's interviews, or Sawyer's interviews. I've seen we are very. I think some of the fan base may not be fully aware, but I'm very aware of. This is an opportunity for Ryan Day to right some wrongs and exercise some demons. So I fully expect you guys to come out very aggressively, and our team better show up, or it's going to be a very ugly day for Michigan.
That can always work against a team too.
Ryan Day always says we need to play with emotion and not let emotions play with us. So that'll be the key. And they were pretty ramped up on Tuesday, but the game doesn't kick off until Saturday. So you gotta rise up, calm down, and get ready back on Saturday for an early kick. Have fun with that.
Steve, any remaining thoughts on this one since we've got TJ on the line? Any questions you have about the maize and blue?
I apologize for missing the last 20 minutes. I had to jump off for a basketball call, but I think for Michigan last week, I think it felt and it looked and it seemed like that they finally kind of put some things together and found some things that maybe had been missing all season, I suppose. And that was the team that, had it come together earlier, to have no one believes that team was going to go 12-0 again as it was constituted, but that team is a little closer to what Michigan football should have looked like, I think, throughout the course of the year. And for them to be playing their best football going into Ohio State, if that's how you look at it, that's the best thing you can do. And I touched on this earlier in the show that, in 1996, I was sitting right there. Michigan was 17-point underdog and won the game in Columbus. So, strange bounces, funny things happen. And, Michigan's got the front seven on defense to, just like last week, Indiana kept them out of the end zone at the 2-yard line. Maybe Michigan does something like that, but I just find it really difficult to believe that Michigan's going to move the ball on Ohio State's defense. But I don't know, those were some of my thoughts. I'm sure you guys touched on it for the last 20 minutes, but I don't know. It's it's been a weird week. I mean, a lot of people and a lot of the Twitter handles are anonymous, obviously, but a lot of talk from Michigan about, what they've done the last 3 years, when I don't know if they're getting their last licks in here in the last 20 minutes before this game's played or what, but it just doesn't feel like it feels like it's swinging back the other way. And I don't know. That's just my take on it here. What do people in Michigan think? I mean, obviously you get Underwood, still waiting on the allegations to drop, or, the penalties, whatever. Just last thought, just what's your thought up there about the overall climate? Is more the answer? Is this thing is Michigan, is this just a 1-year blip for them, or is it really swinging back the other way?
Excellent questions. Well, regarding notice allegations, apparently got extended. So we have no idea when that's going to drop now. We have no idea what it was supposed to be this week. We'll figure out when the extension is going to be too. But and I'll hit on a few of your points, Steve, because you hit on a bunch. But like regarding is Michigan trying to savor the last 3 years and really, yeah, I think so. I think the fan base,
and they should. I mean, 3 dominant wins. I mean,
yeah, and I think the fan base is also very well aware that you guys had an off season with a focus similar to the off season we had prior in terms of national championship mentality. You guys are coming for the prize this year. You guys built your entire roster, had a bunch of players return. Michigan, as a fan base, I think we are aware that you guys have the more superior team this season. But I think Michigan. So for us as a fan base, how are we looking at it? We look at this as a rebuild year. We have a bunch of coaches literally learning on the job, which kind of goes to your point about looking better last year against Indiana, or last week against Indiana. If there was a point in the season to play you guys, it is right now, because the momentum in the program's at an all-time high in terms of landing Bryce Underwood, the hometown hero. A bunch of recruiting momentum appears to be on the cusp right now. And then on top of that, the team actually played the best it's played all year against Northwestern. And not only that, the speculation is Sharon Moore has taken over play calling duties. Haven't had it confirmed yet, but it seems to be the case because the offense looked way more structured, way more fluid, and it actually had, I would say, a rhythm, which it has not had all year. Plus Davis Warren, although he threw a terrible pick in that Northwestern game last week, he has looked better. So if there was a time to play you guys, it is now. But I do think there's a lot of optimism for the program. I do know what is the word out of Ann Arbor is that this offseason they're going to be extremely aggressive. And also, now this is words, we'll see results, but the intention for Michigan is to play at a championship level caliber. That's going to be the standard now. That's the, especially from the donors. I'm sure you guys are well aware that there's been a rally of the donors at Michigan. There's a financial influx at Michigan now. By all accounts, they're going to be also aggressive in the coaching hires in terms of new coordinator, offensive coordinator, some position coaches. Sharon, here's the reality too. The question you asked was, is Sharon Moore the answer? Well, I said after what was it? I would say about 3 weeks ago, I actually told our community on our channel, I'm off the Sharon Moore train. I don't trust him. Like what they did in the fall camp. All the hype that the coaching staff threw at the fan base in terms of, saying things like, as long as I'm the coach here, our offensive line is always going to remain elite. Wrong. Our offensive line has not been elite this season. All the hype that came out about Davis Warren thrown at 88% in fall camp, or that Alex Orji's passing abilities has improved. These were all things that turned out to be not true. So the fan base, the community actually lost a lot of trust, I think, in the coaching staff and Sharon Moore. Now, here's the thing, though. He's going to get another year for sure. His seat is already warm. You don't have donors paying this kind of money thinking you're going to have another year of leeway next year. Next year better have some results. So the anticipation is that Michigan's going to have a much stronger year next year, but that's to be determined. And is Sharon Moore the answer? That's also to be determined. Right now, currently, I have my concerns there, but it does appear that Michigan's willing to give him the resources to succeed, but it's going to be up to him to succeed.